Hey guys, Art17 here, and we are now in week 4, and we're moving right along. Just as a friendly reminder, if you haven't sent me any work, you're getting far behind now. You should at least have done week 1 and 2 and sent it to me, and certainly week 1 and sent it to me. So there still are several of you who haven't communicated, and so I think by the end of this week or during the 5th week, I'll have to drop you if you have not responded or sent any work to me at all. And those that have, yes, I've responded. And if you feel that I haven't or I've missed an assignment that you, or I haven't given feedback on an assignment you sent me that you completed, reach out again and let me know, because I have lots of students. I have 4 classes, and now and then I make mistakes and miss some things. So, I'm fine going back and looking at whatever the issue is, and there will be no problem there. And correct mistakes, or find work that I missed, because I receive a lot of input here from students. So that being said, please get your work to me. By the following week it was posted. So week 1, week 2, week 3 should be already heading to me during this week, possibly by the end of the week. Okay. All right. So let's talk about number 7. So that is a profile portrait, which means a side view. Here are some examples of those. Of course, we're going to work with all the shading knowledge we've learned. So you're shading with your light source, with attention to your light source, as I like to say. So you're paying attention to the direction of your light source, what side it's coming from. Typically, I always say a single light source, because it creates a light lit up side and a short sort of shadow darker side, and then you get all the shape in between. If the light is straight on your face, you're not going to get as much of that. So it's better to have it from one side or the other, or at least in the front or above from one side or the other, not completely on one side, but that's okay to do. You will see some of the features, but it'll be a little too dark maybe. You want to see some features even though it's the shadow side, but you're going to get darker and lighter tones in the face, which is going to show the shape of the face, the rounded features. As the light hits on those surfaces of rounded surfaces, a little differently here and there as the light works its way around the features of the face, or whatever you're drawing. And we learned that in the first videos. Okay, so I want that to see that here, so you have a lot of shape to your face. Now, the face could be, or the head could be in any position, tilted up or looking straight to the side or whatever. But it is a profile, so you're not seeing the other eye. You see one eye, and you see half of the face typically. Okay, so use a lot of shading and not a lot of lines, because really there's no border lines around lips and the edge of the face and everything. It's really the shade of the tone of the face meeting the background. So some of these are kind of inaccurate, even though they look good. There's like a border line. There's nothing drawn on your face like that. I mean, it's really just that the tone of your face stops at a certain point, and then the background continues. And wherever they meet, this creates the edge. This is more accurate. So the tone of the face just sort of ended there. You can have a kind of a thin shading line there, but not a writing line. And certainly not under the jaw. You see how this is all toned? There's no line there, and no line around edges of the nose and nostril. This is all just shading that meets up with other shading or ends somewhere. Hair highlights, you would just leave it void of any tone in there, or erase it out. Like maybe you toned up the whole hair and then you erased out the highlights. Wherever the lightest areas are, you erase them out, and that's perfectly fine too. Or just leave them not there, no tone there to begin with. But then, there'll be some lines in the hair, but more than not, they are not as thin as a writing line. They're more of the side of the pencil going through, like you've learned to use the side of your pencil. And maybe there's some straggler hairs, and that's okay with that kind of a line. But try to stay away from lines and use shading mostly. Let's see if I can find another good one. Oh, another thing you want to notice is, let me see if I can find a template. I'll provide a video on this too, where they're going to map out. Typically the eyes are about in the middle of the head. They're not as high up in the forehead as you might think. There's a lot of area up here in the forehead and going over the top of your head, top of your cranium. There's more room there than you might imagine. And so sometimes students draw a face like this and they crop off the top of the head so it's really short right there, and the eyes are like way up in your forehead, and they're not. That's really not accurate. Now here's a typical example of shading lines to make sort of the border of the face. You have maybe a faint line there, but most of it's shading. And you can see where the light and dark, light and dark, light and dark, light and dark. So you're going to take a photo of maybe your own face from the side. Have somebody do it, maybe, and help you. Or you can work from something else. I would like you to work from a photograph of somebody rather than a drawing of somebody, because then it's going to really, you're going to be challenged to get what you're seeing in the light source. Make sure it has a good light source. So there's a lot of lights and darks in there, because if it's all light tones, it's not going to have any shape. There's a little light here. That's a front 3/4 view, but you see how there's not much going on in most of the face here? It looks a little flat there. There's really not much shape being shown. And stay away from scratchy lines like these, because they look like cuts or textures, like webbed skin or some sort of rough skin. That's not very accurate either. And stay away from anime faces or whatever, cartoon faces. This is not accurate either. We're going for realism. And then later you can go to abstract or something else when you finally get the fundamentals of realism. Otherwise, you never really learn the realism to get to the other stuff, all right? It's kind of a nice one. Using those scratchy lines, though, which I'm not really a big fan of that. I think you should smooth out the tones, because then it talks about smooth skin. Okay. There's a few others here, this is more kind of a stylized way of doing things. Of course, we don't want to do that. We want to stay away from that and have the smoother tones. Let me see what I can find. Let's see what this says. There's some profiles here that, of course, this is getting into a little more attitude, or but this is kind of real. It looks a little unreal, but not that much. So I think you could do something like that. Okay. So profile, the ear looks a little small here, but take a photograph or be able to send me a copy, a photo of what you were working from, so that I can see if I need to help you. If it's something's a little questionable about what you sent me, I can see what you're looking at and go, well, no, this is like this and then like that. But watch the video. It'll show you where ears are. Typically, ears, some are a little higher than others. That's a photograph. I don't want to work with that. But ears are usually, around the top of the eye is where the top of the ear is. About right there. And the bottom of the ear usually comes in around where the upper lip, the top of the upper lip is. So if you put the ear here in between those two areas, it's about right. You put one up here or really low here or too far back, it's really on the second half of the head too. So there's a line going down about half. It's on that second half and between the top of the eye and top of the upper lip. So if you put it there, it's going to be more accurate than not. But look at what you're drawing from. Really study what you're drawing from. Notice where the ear lines up with the eye and the ear lines up with the mouth and where it belongs back there. It's too far forward because you don't want to be over the halfway mark of the head going forward. You want it on the other side of that, just on the other side of the halfway mark. And eyes typically are right about in the middle, or maybe just right above the middle, but they're certainly not way up here, or you're certainly not going to crop the forehead down like this. That's way too short. So there's a lot of room up here. Notice that about what you're drawing from, and get your pencil out and like the videos I showed you, holding your pencil or mapping out shading and proportions, and that'll show you how to measure with your pencil and your finger, making a measurement here and then drag it down and see how far that eye is away from the chin, the bottom of the chin. It's about the same to the top of the cranium, not right here, the top way up here. Then it's going to be about in the middle or just slightly above the middle. Of course, the nose and mouth are placed, everybody's a little different, but they'll be about a third of the way down and maybe another third here, depending on what you're looking at. So map that out as well. The eye is not up here on the nose, it's set back. There's a distance in there where the bridge of the nose is, and the eye socket is back here. And then notice that the eye is not like some oval shape, it's like a little triangle. You see that? It meets in a point back here, and then comes out to where the iris and pupil are. Then you have to notice that the iris is usually covered up a little more by the top eyelid than the bottom eyelid. And certainly it's not just a beady little dot there, not covered up by any eyelid. I mean, really notice these things. You have to really notice. Lips, they're not one tone. They're several tones because of where the light is hitting on them. Okay? So find a profile you can work with, maybe yourself or somebody, a family or friend, profile with a good light source on it that's coming from a direction that allows for some shadow areas, not straight on, and a single light source. All right, and then look for that video after this one. Watch this one first, then look for the instructional demonstration of profile, and we'll go from there. And that'll be it. And if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll talk with you on Wednesday.